You're listening to an audio article by the Common Constitutionalist. Today's article is entitled, "One Less Opportunity for the Democrats to Cheat." And boy, is the left not happy about it. Voting in elections, local, state, and national, is a right of every American citizen 18 years of age and older. There is no test or licensing process one has to go through. That's how we know it's a right. Well, check that. Kind of. The Second Amendment confirms the right to own and carry a firearm, yet look how many hoops one has to jump through in many states just to own, much less carry one. The Constitution, and by extension the various levels of government, does not confer or bestow these rights, but merely confirm that which are our natural rights. In fact, voting is so important that it is covered in the 14th, 15th, 19th, 24th, and most recently the 26th Amendment, ratified in 1971. It was the second to last time the Constitution was legally amended. So why bring up the subject of voting rights? Because as many of us know, the United States Supreme Court recently handed the Democrat Party a potentially crushing bit of news. In Ohio, dead people will no longer be able to vote. Okay, it's a little more than that. In a typical 5-4 decision, the High Court affirmed that it is indeed constitutional for the state of Ohio to clean up its voter rolls. The state wishes to purge from the voter rolls dead people and those others who have not voted for some time in order to prevent voter fraud, amongst other things. The Ohio policy has been dubbed "use it or lose it." Quote, under the state policy, voters who have not voted in 2 years are flagged and sent a confirmation notice. Voters who fail to respond to the notice and don't vote within the next 2 years are removed from the rolls, unquote, writes The Hill. To me and the Supremes, 5 of them anyway, this seems perfectly reasonable. Justice Samuel Alito wrote the majority opinion, saying, quote, the notice in question here warns recipients that unless they take the simple and easy step of mailing back the pre-addressed postage prepaid card, or take the equally easy step of updating their information online, their names may be removed from the voting rolls if they do not vote during the next 4 years, unquote, Alito wrote. Quote, it was Congress's judgment that a reasonable person with an interest in voting is not likely to ignore notice of this sort, unquote. May I add that a reasonable person with an interest in voting is likely to, vote? Naturally, the Dems are going ballistic, as did the leftists on the High Court over the decision. And of course they are using the same tired old argument that minorities and the poor will be unfairly targeted by the ruling. But they should be worried, as the bellwether battleground state of Ohio is now the 7th state to adopt such rules. The other 6 are Georgia, Montana, Oklahoma, Oregon, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. In a statement, Ohio Secretary of State John Husted, Republican, said that the state's process can now serve as a model for other jurisdictions. Quote, today's decision is a victory for election integrity and a defeat for those who use the federal court system to make election law across the country, unquote, he said. Now, I'm not one for court precedent, as such a thing usually leads us from bad to worse, but in this case it's actually a good thing. Other states who are considering this type of program may have shied away due to the potential for lengthy litigation from leftist interest groups. However, now that the Supreme Court has ruled, the decision makes leftist activist challenges moot and renders liberal activist judges in the various lower courts impotent. Thank you for listening.